Eating a curry with a piece of naan in your hands doesn't really say fancy dinner, but believe me, Indian food really can be elegant when done right. While my first love is street food and getting down and dirty with what I'm eating, I always appreciate an elevated meal, complete with napkin in my lap and being unsure of which fork to use. Today, I'm going to show you a sophisticated menu with Indian flavors that will really surprise your dinner guests. My spice-crusted roast pork loin with fennel stuffing looks fancy and impressive, but you'll be shocked by how easy it is to prepare. Juicy pork stuffed with fennel, it just pairs so well. I can't get enough of creamy, rich side dishes, and my spice polenta fits the criteria. Wilted greens with masala butter is a vegetable dish with class, indulgent, and a perfect accompaniment to an upscale main. I really appreciate the love and thought that chefs put into fine dining, and I want to pump some of that love into Indian food. Everyone wants to learn how to make a fancy meal, and this is a true showstopper. My roasted pork loin with a fennel stuffing and a spice crust is unbelievable. In this skillet, I have it set over medium heat, and we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. And for a little bit of extra flavor, let's add in a tablespoon of butter. To this, I have 2 sliced white onions. And 1 bulb of fennel. And I love fennel. It's really refreshing to eat it raw, but it's beautiful when it gets nice and soft and cooks right down. Excellent for our stuffing. Let's add in some garlic because onions, fennel, butter, olive oil definitely call for garlic. So I got a couple of cloves of garlic here that I've minced up. Let's season with some freshly cracked black pepper and some salt. Now to really enforce that fennel flavor, let's add in some whole fennel seeds. And as they cook down, they'll get nice and soft and little bursts of fennel flavor, really delicious. So I got about a teaspoon there. Let's give this a stir. So let's let this mixture cook down until it's nice and soft. It's going to take a good 10 to 12 minutes. In the meantime, let me walk you through my spice crust. So I have a bowl here. So in the bowl, let's combine some cloves, and pork and cloves are such good friends. Let's add a teaspoon of ground cloves, half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and that's going to add some really nice fruitiness to the outside of our pork loin. Some salt. Some freshly cracked black pepper. And about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Let's give it a good brush. So the spice crust is just going to add another nice layer of flavor. So the outside will be seasoned. You got that pork and then that delicious fennel stuffing on the inside. Going to be really magical. Let's set this off to the side and let's check on our onions and fennel. Look how soft these onions and fennel are. It's really important to give it the 10 to 12 minutes they need, and this step really does transform our roasted pork loin into something really fancy. So let's finish this stuffing off with some fresh sage. I got a tablespoon of it. Now let's add in 3 cups of fresh breadcrumbs. Add those in. And the reason why I'm using fresh breadcrumbs is because all those flavors will get absorbed by the bread Really delicious. So you can see here that we've created a really nice stuffing for our pork. Let's let this cool down slightly, and while that's happening, let me show you how to butterfly a pork loin. Take your piece of pork loin and lay it skin side down on a cutting board. Run your knife down the center of the pork loin, only cutting halfway through. Put the blade of your knife back into that slit you've just created and start cutting, ensuring you only go 3/4 of the way through and create a flap. Do the exact same thing to the right side. You will now see that the pork loin opens very much like a book. So here's our butterflied pork. Let's season with some salt and pepper. Now let's put in our stuffing. So let's line it up right here in the middle. Let's fold our pork back over. To keep all the stuffing inside, we have to tie it up. So here I have some lengths of butcher's twine. We're going to run it all the way to the back. Just knot it. Don't go too tight or you'll squeeze all that delicious stuffing out as the pork starts to cook. So let's trim off any of this extra string. Let's stick it in a roasting tray. Now we want to make sure we get our spice crust all over both sides. So let's do the flesh side first. Give this a really good mix. Paint it on. Oh, you really get that clove and nutmeg. So yummy. This spice crust really adds that extra dimension of flavor. Flip it over, skin side up, and let's put the remainder of our spice crust all over the skin. So with our 1 kilo pork loin here that's been butterflied, I'm going to roast it in the oven at a really high temperature, 425 degrees, for 15 to 20 minutes, and that will ensure that the outside gets nice and crispy. Then we'll drop the temperature 325 degrees for an additional 15 to 20 minutes, and that will ensure that you have really juicy, succulent pork. Here's our roasted pork loin. It's been out of the oven for 10 minutes, and that's a really important step before you slice into it. You want to make sure that all those delicious juices stay inside. Let's lift it out. Let's cut off our string. The spice crust that we made has made the skin super crispy and packed with flavor. Slice into this. Look at that. How beautiful does this look? Really juicy pork, that fennel and onion stuffing inside. How can you go wrong? Let's put this on our platter. Now don't neglect all these juices from the bottom of the pan. Take these juices, put them right over the top. You got pork fat, you got those cloves, olive oil, salt, pepper, nutmeg. A restaurant quality dish in the comfort of your own home. My roasted pork loin with fennel stuffing and a spice crust. An absolute centerpiece for your next fancy dinner party. When you're wanting to make a fancy meal, you gotta give a really good starch. And more often than not, you think of mashed potatoes, but that's so boring. Let's do a spiced polenta. It's really gonna jazz up your dinner party. In this saucepan, I have 2 cups of water. To that, I'm gonna add 2 cups of whole milk. So that's 4 cups total of liquid, and both of those together are gonna ensure that we have really creamy and delicious polenta. To season it up, I got a teaspoon of garam masala. Let's season with a little bit of salt. Don't go too crazy because we're gonna finish this polenta with some Parmesan cheese. And that's really salty. And some freshly cracked black pepper. So our milk's come to the boil. Let's grab our polenta. This is 1 cup of instant polenta, which is cornmeal. Start whisking. Put in the whole cup. Now this is your workout for your fancy meal. You gotta keep whisking and you'll see that the polenta will start pulling away from the pot. I love polenta. It's a very similar texture to mashed potatoes, but you get this delicious, pleasant graininess with it. It's really nice. So you can see now that the polenta is coming away from the sides of the pot, but it's still nice and thick and creamy. So let's cut the heat. And now let's add the last final flourishes that really take this over the top. I got half a cup of Parmesan cheese, and that's gonna add some really nice salty nuttiness to the overall polenta. I got a teaspoon of freshly chopped sage. And that sage not only lends itself really well with that pork, but goes really well with corn and the cheese and the garam masala. It's gonna be really delicious. And then to make this extra creamy, a couple of tablespoons of butter. Whisk all of this up. Let's grab a bowl. Look at this polenta. Creamy, delicious, cheesy, perfect. You got a lot of really cool flavors going on in this polenta, very different from mashed potatoes. You got that hint of garam masala and fresh sage. You got that delicious corn flavor, and of course, you got the nuttiness from the Parmesan cheese. My spice polenta is going to be perfect for your next fancy dinner party. Let's transform the humble cabbage into a fancy side dish. My greens with masala butter are going to be delicious. I have a pot of boiling water here that's already been salted, and I'm going to put into it some teared up cabbage leaves. I'm using Savoy cabbage because I really love the texture. I've ripped the cabbage up into individual leaves, and that'll be really nice when we go to glaze them towards the end. So let's put them into our salted water. They don't take very long to cook, 3 to 4 minutes tops. You want them to still retain their texture, but you want them to be kind of soft to the touch. While our cabbage is boiling, let me show you how to make a delicious masala butter. In a food processor, let's combine a teaspoon of garam masala, 2 cloves of garlic, a tablespoon of rosemary, and 5 anchovy fillets. Now I know you're probably thinking this is crazy, but I'm telling you they add so much flavor, becomes really meaty and a delicious saltiness that you can't replicate any other way. For some heat, let's add in 1 whole green chili. If you don't want it super hot, you can use no chili, remove the seeds, whatever you'd like. And for some brightness, the zest of 1 lemon. So let's give this a quick buzz, just to make sure you chop up all the ingredients before we add in the butter. Now, of course, to make a masala butter, you gotta have butter. So here I have half a pound of unsalted butter. I've allowed it to soften, just makes food processing way easier. Done. Let's check on our greens. So you can see our cabbage leaves are done. They're still really intact and the stem is nice and tender. So I'm going to drain them, allow them to cool, and they're going to be beautiful when we toss them with our masala butter and balsamic vinegar. Here's our masala butter, and obviously we made way too much than we need for these greens. But that's the beauty. We made a big batch, it freezes really well, perfect for your next roast potatoes or some seared fish. Let's put in a couple tablespoons. I got a big skillet here set over medium heat. To make it really nice, sticky, and sweet, let's add in 4 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. Our balsamic vinegar has gone nice and thick. Let's put in our cooked cabbage. The smell is absolutely amazing. You can smell that garlic, the rosemary, all that sweetness from the balsamic vinegar. You can see how our balsamic vinegar and butter have started to glaze this cabbage. If you can't find Savoy cabbage, you can use any cabbage that you can find in season. Greens are done. Let's adjust the seasoning with a little bit of salt. You don't want to use too much because we have our anchovies in there. Give it a good mix up. Beautiful. What an excellent way to add flavor and flair to your next dinner party. My greens with masala butter, delicious. In order to make fancy food, you gotta make it approachable, and that is the philosophy of today's menu. What I really love about pork is that it's quite literally a blank canvas, and a lot of other flavors really go well with it. So what we've done is we've taken that fatty exterior of pork loin and combined a really delicious spice crust to give this nice Indian flavor profile from the exterior, and then we've stuffed it with fennel, really make this a standout dish. I love creamy side dishes to go along with roasted meats. You really want to impress your guests? Make polenta. What I love about polenta is how versatile it is. You can literally put any single flavor you want with it, and it's gonna be great. The wilted greens with masala butter are not like your everyday greens like your grandma made. What we've done is we've perfectly cooked these greens and they're just begging for some more flavor. This masala butter really packs that punch. You toss it all through and you got texture, hardiness. It's really, really delicious and perfect alongside that spiced polenta and pork loin. When constructing a main dish, you want to make sure that you got different flavors in each component, but that all together they create a really harmonious main course, and that's the goal when cooking fancy.